I want to share with you how I use charcoal. My charcoal is my favorite medium. Most of my work is done in charcoal. Although I do use acrylic and other mediums, charcoal is my primary. And I like to use charcoal on canvas. And so I am sharing how at least a couple of ways that I work with canvas when I create portraits. Not only do I like portraits, but I do like to add a sense of whimsicalness. I just like to have fun and kind of push the boundaries of pushing pictures that are slightly unrealistic while also being somewhat realistic at the same time. So here, this is kind of an exploration panel. It's not my best work. It's not the neatest, but I love this picture just because it has elements of what I really love to incorporate in my work. So it's a portrait of a woman, obviously, one of the things that I love, and it has a sense of whimsicalness. So it's slightly real in terms of the features of the woman, but it's not because she has this very elongated neck, which I like to make my women having these very long necks and exaggerated, and then adding whether it's birds in the sky, um, small, cute little birds. Sometimes I may add a tree or a house in the background, and any kind of doodles that you like to add. Sometimes I will add those to my pictures as well. So this is a done picture. This is just something that I played around with. And so we will start with a brand new panel. This is just a thin canvas panel that you can get from either the dollar store or Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I think this one I bought from Hobby Lobby. I did. This is Master's Touch, a 9 by 12 canvas panel. And I bought one recently from Hobby Lobby, Artist Lofts. Again, it's a 9 by 12 brand new panel. And so we're just going to play around, nothing too serious, and get a little messy. One of the things that I love about charcoal is that you get messy and dirty very quickly. I love to have fun and get dirty. It does prevent me from really getting my nails polished as often as I like, but I think I'd much rather have charcoal on my hands, and that's okay with me. Okay. I love to use charcoal vine. That's my primary source of my drawing, just because it's so soft and it's easy to erase once it's on canvas or paper. I just love the texture of charcoal, so it's primarily what I use. Usually I'll have a brush to kind of brush things around if I need to. I have a knead eraser. The brand that I use is Faber-Castell. You typically get most of my items from either Amazon or Hobby Lobby or Michael's. So I use a knead eraser. You gotta have that for charcoal. I also have a pencil eraser. This is Panda Fly, which I ordered from Amazon, and this helps with getting to the details. I have charcoal pencils. This one is Winsor Newton. I have soft and hard pencils. I also use General's charcoal pencils as well. And Pan Pastel is one of my favorites. If I need to add a pop of color to my work, which is typically what I'll do, I'll add 1 or 2 pops of color to my work. I'll use Pan Pastel typically, or acrylic paint. But I have a whole case of these with various colors. I have 2 cases actually of Pan Pastel. All right, so those are just some of the tools that I use, and I have a whole stack of more charcoal sticks if I need them. when I get a charcoal stick, so they typically come as a whole stick like this, but I like to break mine down to a small piece. Something like this size or this size. And first what we'll do is we'll kind of dust off the canvas a bit by just drawing it around and kind of start off with some mid-tone. I like to use my hand, or you can also use the brush. The brush tends to wipe it away a little too much, more than I'd like, so I usually use my hand. If you don't want to get your hands dirty, you can also use gloves as well, which I do from time to time if the work is requiring a lot of charcoal, which is often. All right, so I'll just use my hand here a little bit just to kind of get the dust around. Nothing special. Clean it up a little more. One thing about charcoal, you never know what you're going to get sometimes. Even when you have an intentional idea in mind, charcoal can be unpredictable and yet predictable at the same time. All right, so I'm just sharing really what I do with charcoal. I'm self-taught. I am not formally trained in charcoal, and I found different ways that I enjoy working with it, and so that's what I'm sharing with you. Nothing that's law as far as charcoal is concerned, but just what I enjoy to do when it comes to charcoal and canvas. I do charcoal on paper as well, but I love canvas. I love working with large canvases, typically anywhere from 24 by 30 or a little larger than that. Something about the hard texture helps me to, I don't know, it's kind of therapeutic for me when I start rubbing in charcoal. So I love to exaggerate the necks, just something that I personally enjoy doing. And I usually start from the bottom up when I'm drawing faces. And sometimes I'll use a photo reference, sometimes not. I'll just use a picture in my mind, nothing in particular. Right now, I'm not using a photo reference. And I'll often first start from the bottom up, neck, chin, and then I'll just kind of get an idea of where I want the lips. What do I want the lips to look like? I'll lay down the chalk flat on the surface, or I'll use it as a pencil to start etching in some details. All right, and that's the mouth. So here we'll draw some strong features. All right, I move from neck, chin, mouth to lips, and then I'll start drawing in the eyes. Here we'll draw some almond eyes. And again, here we're just kind of sketching where we want our features. I'll typically have to make changes along the way when we get more detailed. Now we have our eyebrows. One thing about knead erasers, you can use them over and over and over. And I'll start drawing in some eyes. And it's something just so therapeutic about art, period, for me. After working a long day, sometimes you just want to come home and play. You don't want to talk to anybody. You just want to draw. At least that's how I feel sometimes. I just want to play. That's it. Just having something that's tactile. It's decompressing after a rough day and very stress relieving. And so now I'm just starting to etch in slowly some details. And again, not that detailed as if I was drawing with pencil and paper. But sketching in just so you have some idea of what I have in mind when I'm drawing my lady here. And my goal here is to remake this same picture, at least somewhat anyway, just so you can see how I go about drawing this kind of a picture. And it's not going to be exactly alike, but something like it. And I'll begin to, now this one is starting to flatten out a bit, and so this is when I'll start looking for more charcoal. I don't want to pull out a new stick yet, and I tell you, it just gets really messy. So this is just a small box, but then this is like my main box. I have hair everywhere. All right, so new charcoal, and then I usually break mine up. And so then once I have the details in place, I'll start adding just a little shading by laying it flat on the canvas, and I'll start using my finger to shade it out, to add the shadows and highlights. And this part can take some time. So when I'm working with canvases that are like 24 by 30 and I'm doing these huge portraits, it takes literally days for me to get the shadows right and trying to work with the canvas surface because it's such a rough texture and it takes a while to get it right the way I want it anyway. I like to see it a certain way. And so I use my fingers. Again, you can always use gloves, but I love the effect that the fingers provide on the canvas. If I were to use a brush, and you can use a brush as an alternative, but I think it wipes away the charcoal a little bit more than I like. So I just use my fingers. And again, it's therapeutic for me when I use my hands. With the surface being so much more smaller than what I'm used to working with, it's actually makes it a whole lot easier, which is great. So if you see, I have a few fingers that are dirty, and I'll keep using, I get very strategic about the fingers that I use. So the ones that are dirty, if I don't want to pull that much charcoal, if I want to keep the area dark, I'll keep using my fingers that are already blackened with charcoal. But if I want to highlight an area, I'll use the fingers that have very little or no charcoal to help lift some of the charcoal. And then I can start blending that a little bit. I'll also use my eraser to kind of lift more charcoal when I need it. Like this area, for instance. Somehow it has my fingerprints. All right, and then I'll start using it like a pencil. All right. All right. I start getting so deep off into the picture. Sometimes I forget that I'm on camera. And because I just start getting into this fantasy world about my picture and thinking about what she might turn out looking like, what I might want her to look like. Fix her eyebrows a little bit. And then we can start, here I need to sharpen my charcoal pencil. We'll use our Generals, which I think actually the Generals is much better than my Winston Newton charcoal pencils. I'm not quite sure why. But when I do lashes, sometimes I will just use the Vine, but if I want them, it depends on what kind of look I'm going for. If I want it really thin, and I tend to struggle with lashes, then I'll just sharpen my charcoal pencils and use that. I'll try to get a little dramatic with it. Because again, realistic, but yet not so realistic. Now my left side of my lashes is where I really struggle. I always have to go back and fix it because I'm right-handed. well, I'm using my right hand with both, but when I have to work on the left side, I tend to have issues. So I will often have to go back and fix the details. Okay. Just to kind of add a little bit more shadow. So again, looking for the clean finger to kind of lighten up an area. You can always use your eraser. Doing working charcoal on canvas is a lot harder than working charcoal on paper because paper is a lot more smoother, and it takes, I mean, you know, you get your work done quite faster than working on charcoal because you have to put in a lot of elbow grease working with canvas just because of the very hard texture on canvas, and it can be pretty hard to get it the way you want. But I guess it depends on how you work your charcoal. And the way I like mine to come out, it takes me some time, which I don't mind at all. If you notice, I'm looking at the bottom of my fingers to see how dirty my fingers are. That'll give me some direction as to what finger to use for what area. So anyway, this part takes me time usually. So anyway, just a rough sketch here. All right, and then of course you can, look, it's your picture. You can doodle, you can add whatever ideas, whatever floats your boat. I love to doodle. That's also very therapeutic for me. You can fill them in, make them black and white if you want. That's not really what I'll do here, but just to kind of give you an example. Just to give you some idea of how I use my pan pastel, and I'll just give you a quick example really quickly. I'm not going to use it on her eyes. Typically, that's where I'll put it. Like I'll give her some eyeshadow. I have what's called, I don't even know what they call this tool, but the brand is Soft. that you can get from Amazon, and it comes with all these different cushions. And when they get dirty, you just pop on a clean one. Like now, I'll use one that I've already used with some Pan Pastel. And here we'll just add some color in the background. And you can have fun with that. You can go even darker. Here, I'll just keep it light. But it's a creamy texture. It's the texture of eyeshadow, really, but a little bit more creamier. I just love to work with it. Right now, it's getting mixed in with the charcoal, so it's not going to have the pure color. All right, so that's Pan Pastel. You can have a lot of fun with that. And here I'll just kind of outline her face again. I just love the boldness of charcoal. I really do. And, you know, if you want to give her ears, certainly can do that. Okay, and she's cute. I wasn't really planning on adding any hair. I'll give her a little fro. And you can always color that in, or even use Pan Pastel if you want to make her hair a different kind of color. If you want it purple, pink, teal, whatever you like. All right. So that's our girl. And I love hearts, so I'll add a heart somewhere, maybe on her cheek here. I want to make sure that you see. And I usually like to give my girls a name. The first name that pops up in my head is Sarah, so we'll call her Sarah. This is Sarah. Not a perfect picture, but I never like my pictures to be perfect. You know, I just want the freedom to be able to sketch and just have fun with her eyes. It also is really good to teach you how to embrace imperfections and really find the beauty in messiness and in just having pure fun. Let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments. Thanks.